Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? Are you ready for cocktails and conversations? With your host, the unapologetic diva, Dr. G, the girlfriend therapist, Dr. Cortina Lewis, and the networking extraordinaire, Diana Richardson Philippus. Are you ready for cocktails and conversation? This is Herspiration Happy Hour. Happy Wednesday and welcome to another episode of Herspiration Happy Hour. This is your unapologetic diva, Dr. G.
Dr. Cortina Lewis, aka the girlfriend therapist.
And Diana Richardson Philippus, your networking extraordinaire.
Woo-woo. How's it been going for you ladies this week?
It's going. I'm getting a little cold, but it's nothing I can't handle.
That's right.
Allergies.
Yeah, we were just literally talking about how since the school time has come in, Diana, you were saying how, being around children or having small children in the home, that, it's a rampant infestation pool of germs. Yeah. Constantly cycles around. So hopefully it's not too bad. I know.
No, I think it's just my allergies because the kids are not sick. I think it's just my allergies acting up because I had to take a Benadryl.
Ooh, child. My head is down on this laptop. Took a Benadryl. So what is our drink of the day today?
So our drink of the day is inspired by actually our topic. So the drink for the day is called For Sickness and in Health. So what you're going to do is, and this is a bourbon drink, so you're going to pick any bourbon, your choice, 2 ounces of it, and that represents the strength and the grounding comfort in relationships. You're going to have a half an ounce of honey syrup, and that's soothing and has that healing element to it. You're going to have a half an ounce of fresh lemon juice, and it's, bright and cleansing and on a health note. And you're going to add 0.25 ounces of ginger liqueur or muddled fresh ginger for the warming and restorative feel, and 2 dashes of bitters, and that adds depth and balance. And you're going to top it with a splash of sparkling cider. Now, I would hold the sparkling cider because me personally, I don't like the sparkling cider. And then you're going to garnish it with a lemon wheel and a slice of ginger. If you want to really give it that healing, touch, you may want to have an option of garnishing it with a sprig of thyme. And so that's what that is. Yeah. So, it's like, it's almost like a whiskey sour meets a hot toddy. So,
you know what? I feel like I could totally drink that because I like a good hot toddy, but I've never thought of putting, I've never put thyme in my hot toddy.
Neither have I.
Some fresh thyme.
So like I said, the drink was inspired by our topic for today. And our topic is Till Death Do Us Part, in sickness and in health. Like, what does that really mean? Do people these days really take their vows seriously? Have you ever been in a situation where you did become sick and the person that you were with, they kind of left you? Did you disclose something with someone and they decided not to date you because of it, because of their own personal choice or their lack of information surrounding? Well, guess what? I've been in all of those situations. So as many of you know, I'm a cancer survivor. I'm a lupus warrior. I've had a lot of medical challenges over my life. And I would have to say the first time I ever came in contact with I was engaged to someone, and we had been engaged prior to me finding out that I had been diagnosed with cancer. And when I was going through my treatments and everything, I was burnt really bad. And he asked me one day, well, are you going out in public like that? So that should have been like my first indication, like, oh no, like I'm sick right now and you moving kind of funny. I was like, no, it's cancer. You can't catch it. And then there was another time when I was in the kitchen and I was like vomiting, and he just sat on the sofa and did not come help me or assist me or anything. I was like, okay. And so I just realized, you know what? There's no way in good conscience or good faith that with what's happening, do I think he loved me and cared for me? Sure. But I don't think that he had the capacity to be able to love me in a way that I needed to be loved in that moment. So I made a decision not to go through with the wedding, and invitations were set. We were supposed to be married in November. I found out in the end of August that I had cancer. So like within 3 months, like of the wedding, 300 guests, like cancel, can't do it, not doing it. And so that was that. And then prior to me, when I was in my dating phase, after I had gotten a divorce from who then became my husband, to my husband who I have right now, I was dating a guy, and I was like, okay, well, it's not getting serious, but I am dating him. I should let him know, like, I do have lupus. And I told him, and he, like, when I say like went way left and went off on me, and I was like, he was like, you should have told me this sooner. What, like, that's not something you keep from somebody. Oh, okay. Whoa.
Like, it's lupus, not HIV. What the hell?
You act like you're gonna give you a sexually transmitted infection. I'm like, okay, you do know what lupus is. It doesn't matter. It's a disease, and you should have told me. I'm talking about when I tell you I felt this small, and then I was like, I've never in my life had anybody who I was dating, talking to, ever give me that type of reaction. And that started me questioning, like, how soon do you share with someone that you do have, health concerns and the challenges that you've been through? And I think one is when you're ready to disclose that, because just because I'm talking to you, that doesn't mean I need to disclose it. Because what if this doesn't even go anywhere? Now I've shared information with you that what are you going to do with it? And so that's something for our listeners. If you are living with an illness, how soon, if you are in a dating phase, do you tell someone? And if you are, have an illness and you're with your partner and you get sick again, what does that look like? And does for sickness and in health still have the meaning that it was originally intended for in this culture that we have now? Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts?
That was a lot to take in.
It was a lot to take in, and it's so multifaceted, right? Because there's different components to the topic, and certainly to what you just mentioned. Well, one, I think that, in dating someone, and you do have some underlying health conditions, certainly you want to wait until you feel comfortable enough to disclose. I mean, if I were in that position, that I know that's how I would address it, because let's just keep it real. I mean, we've all been in the dating field, even though we're married now. Every time you date someone does not necessarily mean that this is going to be a lifelong union. So you certainly, may not want to disclose that type of information so personal to someone whom you may or may not have a future with. You want to wait until you have you feel comfortable enough, and exactly the trajectory that you're on with this person, because the dating field, I mean, I remember that. Like, I remember dating, and no. But the other half of the question is, I think you said, the true meaning of, in sickness and in health. And I really love that you said that, because I think sometimes, and, certainly I'm not here to pass judgment, but people don't understand the true meaning of marriage, right? When you stand and you take those vows for sickness and in health, that is a real thing. And it's deep. It's in sickness and health with either, you and your partner, that can extend outward. We all have parents and loved ones who can you be there to stand and fill in the gap when your partner is going through something and they're not able, to emotionally handle it. Like, that is such a loaded topic right there. Personally, I'm going through that right now. And you have to really understand that when you sign up to be married. It is more than just this honeymoon phase of, oh, I'm married. No, that thing is work. And things happen, as I like to say, life is lifing all the time. So when you do enter into a union, I think that it's important that you understand that, yes, in sickness and health, richer and poor, all the things, be ready for all of that.
So one of the things that I find interesting is,
Tina,
really
quick, please just say this. Because when you pose the question, I think one of the things when it really truly comes to your vows, the longer you are married, your body is going to already go through physical changes. And not only does your body go through physical changes, the older you get, the longer that you are married, your body are going to go through health changes. And I'm not saying it has to be a bad thing. I'm saying it's going to be a very natural thing. And so when I chose this time to get married, I wanted to ensure that anything that happened to me, I know that the person that I am with is going to stand there with me, because I have been previously married where I had double hernia surgery and was really immobile. And I still had to get up and cook for myself. I ended up catching the flu at 104 temp. I drove myself to the hospital, and the people thought I was out of my mind. They was like, how did you even make it with 104 temp? But the will of God lets you know and shows you exactly where you need to be. So the fact that, I got married much older now, I was much more cognizant about what was important to me. And, when you're around the military and you have people who are losing limbs and all of those things, or you have people who, are diabetic and they lose body parts, your physical nature changes. It can change in an instant. You can get in a car accident and your entire physical appearance will change. Are you with the person that will stand by you through every change in your life? This is beyond just sickness and in health. Health can look like a lot of things. Hell, for a lot of us, health is looking like we battling menopause or learning this new transition for us. That's still health. So for me, I think that it's important to say, when we look at in sickness and in health, that we need to really look at it holistically in what it is that we have the capacity to stand by our vows for.
I think that a lot of it also is making sure and understanding that whom you're marrying, you are equally yoked, right?
Oh.
Going through marital counseling, understanding, because I know people who have gotten married because they just want to be married. Sometimes I feel like people really have a false perception of what marriage really is. You're not going to like your partner every single day. That's a whole nother topic, that we could get into. I mean, talking about health, but you're not going to like them every day. You're going to love them every day, right? But you may not even like them every single day. So you have to know that you are equally yoked with your spouse. And knowing that and being able to endure that is going to help you navigate through those times, because they're coming, right? The trials and tribulations, ups and downs in health. You spoke on menopause. I've been going through that forever. And listen, okay, that whole thing changed. I gained extra fluff, all sorts of stuff, ma'am. So it's real. You go through changes when you're married. I mean, you're going to go through the changes married or not, but in your union, both parties are changing, right? But your love and commitment has to be the same.
One of the things that I was going to say earlier was, I don't think I'm surprised by it, but when it comes to gender differences, when significant illnesses happen. And so a few different studies show that when the wife or the woman in the relationship becomes ill, there's a 6% higher likelihood that the relationship will end in divorce. But there is no significant risk when it's the reverse, when the husband becomes ill. And in Europe, they did a study where they found that marriages were about 7 times more likely to end in divorce, 7 times more likely, if the wife became seriously ill, as opposed to the male. So, I mean, that says a lot in and of itself. And I'm not going to say who takes vows seriously, men or women. But I think it does speak to a little bit of the nurturing side of the
you took the words right out my mouth.
Right?
Yep.
Yes.
Women, they make sure the home. So if a man doesn't necessarily know how to do all of those things, it's going to be totally life altering for the way that they envision in their mind for this marriage to be. And that's not a scapegoat. That's not an excuse, but it may give an answer as to, okay, well, why is it so high? Why is there such a difference? And I think that sometimes society feels that it's women's duty to make sure that everybody, even when the kids get sick, who's taking care of them? Who more than likely takes off from work? Who more than likely stays home with them? It's the woman. And so I think taking that into consideration, I would have to say I am very blessed. I'm very lucky to have the husband that I have. 2 months into our dating, I had a mass on my uterus. And so that's when I ended up having a hysterectomy. And when it was happening, he already knew I was a cancer survivor. It was a possibility. Yep, it was cancer. And I was like, look, we just started dating. This might be a lot. You do not have to go through this. Like, it's cool. It's fine. I won't take it personal if you're like, oh, you know what, this a lot real soon. And he said to me, I know I don't have to be here, but I want to be here. We're in this together. We're a team. And so even when I was engaged previously, even when I was in a long-term relationship, even when I was married to my daughter's father, I have never had someone that said those words to me. When I was married to my daughter's father, after I had my surgery, this was the second time I had cancer, the drain was leaking. And I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, something is wrong here. You know what he said to me? Oh, I got to go to the gym. I had to call my mom, and my mom came over and she was with me. And then that's when I've always said to anybody, you know what? My mom and daddy gonna hold me down. I got my mama, I have my dad. They're always going to be there for me because I've never had a man like fully stand with me in the gap through any of my health challenges. It was always my mom and my dad. And so I in the beginning, my mom, she wasn't really feeling D because she was like, I don't know. But after she saw like the care and concern and the attention that he had for me, because we were living in different cities. She was 2.5 hours away. She was like, you know what? I feel comfortable with not having to be at every appointment. And that was huge for her to be able to say, because she knew what I had been through in the past. And so if you have someone and you've gone through something and you're going through something, for them to be able to be there and stand by your side doesn't mean that it's easy for them. Just because you don't see them cry, just because you don't see them having difficult moments, it doesn't mean that it's not difficult. It doesn't mean that it's not challenging for them to see the person that they love going through what they're going through. But it does. And the person who's going through it, we have to also know that they might show a little bit of short patience one time, because this might not be something that they've gone through before. They might have fear, right? And fear sometimes comes out as anger when you don't know what's going to happen. So I think both parties need to be mindful of one another, give space when space is needed, and also give grace, because no one is perfect. And there's not a handbook or a rule book that teaches us how to deal with sick spouses, how to deal with illness in the relationship. And it's just trial and error. And you have to go through what works for that particular relationship.
So I have a question. How do you have those because I feel like it's a difficult conversation when you have someone who is going through something, and then it might feel insensitive for them to say, you know what, I don't really know how to handle this. I'm scared to handle this because that person in their mind, I don't want to put more on their plate.
Yeah.
So how do you, when you are either entering into a relationship or you've been in a long-term relationship, or you might be dating 6 months and something happens, how do you open the door to have that difficult conversation and that other person not feel insensitive to be a part of whatever it is that their partner is going through?
So I think that's multi-layered, only because so think about the loss, grief, and bereavement cycle, right? Denial, bargaining, anger, depression, acceptance. So you're looking at those things. When someone finds out, let's just say cancer, because I'm familiar with that, they have something that could potentially be terminal, right? You might go through all of those things. So my anger might not be directed towards you, but I'm just angry at everything. Like, I don't know why this is happening, why right now, this is inconvenient. And so not internalizing the way that each other responds, because your spouse might be in bargaining, like, okay, God, come on, like, fix this. Like, okay, this can't, like, if you fix this, then I'll do this. You might be in depression. So we got one, or one might be in denial, like, this is not happening. The other one is in depression. How do we support each other when we're in two different phases during this particular time? So again, I think it's about educating one another, knowing that no one has all the answers, vulnerability and transparency, not being selfish, because you can't be selfish and say, well, my partner can't have feelings because I'm the one that's going through it. Yes, you are the one that has it physically, but it affects the whole family system. You are not the only one that's impacted or affected by this diagnosis. It's devastating for everybody. And not to mention if you have kids in the situation and what the dynamic of the household looks like. And so I think having those conversations, even if nothing is happening, like, I want for you to know if something happens, we don't know because we don't have a glass ball, what that might look like. But I want for you to know, however you're feeling or however I'm feeling, I want to make sure that we still keep the communication lines open and that we don't internalize. If you say, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
You ain't a doctor. I don't expect for you to know what to do with this. I want for you to feel your feelings. Don't stuff them. Because I think when people are made to stuff their feelings, now we like, okay, I don't even know who this person is. Okay, like, okay, maybe we're not supposed to be together. Okay, divorce, because I can't take it. I don't know what to do. They might find comfort in the arms of somebody else. They can't talk to you because you're only concerned about your own feelings. So, okay, I'm talking to, my work wife more, and then it becomes more than a work wife, right? And so there are so many different nuances, and allowing the process to be, checking in consistently with one another. How you, like, where you at? How are you feeling today? What's going on in your mind? You have any fears? You have any, anything? One of the things that so if you are the person that's impacted, and I'll just give you an example of what happened with my mom. Like, after my mom dropped the phone when we first initially found out that I had cancer, I didn't see her. I saw how that impacted her. So me as the person that's going through it, like physically, I never allowed my mom to see me cry. And I don't think I did cry because I felt like I had to be the strong one for everybody else around me. Like, my dad shambles. Oh my God. So I felt like I did not have not that I didn't have the ability, because they never told me I couldn't, but I felt like if they saw me with a strong front,
then they would be
okay. Like, they won't fall to pieces. And so that's kind of how I kept it. So I never really moved through the emotional part. I never took time to ask myself how I felt about what I was going through, because I was so concerned about everybody else. And I think those people in our lives have to also be able to communicate to the person physically going through it. It's okay to feel what you feel. You're human. and give us permission, not that we don't have permission, but allow it to be okay for us to go through the array of emotions, and vice versa. We allow it to be okay for the others to go through the array of emotions. Like this last time when they told me that I had lung cancer, and I was telling Morgan, no, you can't. I'm not telling you not to cry. But for where I was in that moment, I could not have the sadness in my space because of my own spiritual work that I was trying to do for myself. And so I communicated to her, Morgan, you know what, girl, if you're going to be crying, just go cry in your room. Because that would have disrupted me. Like, that's my baby. That's my daughter. I don't want to see that while I'm trying to manifest and do a lot of other healing work that I was doing. And so again, communication.
Okay.
Amazing.
And it's difficult. It's challenging. I mean, I think also it happens when there's a sick parent, right? So let's just say your parents have to move back in the house with you. Mm-hmm. That also starts a lot of friction in relationships because, yes, your parent is in the house. I may love them as an in-law in their own house, but it's a whole different ball game if you have an in-law that might be intrusive, that might give a little bit too much advice when it's not warranted, that may try to tell you how to run your house in your own house, that may baby the spouse or the other one, that may just overstep. And not that they're trying to do it intentionally. It's just like,
it's their nature.
Just don't move it. It's okay. You don't got to change that. Well, it'll look better this way. So that is another, situation when you are caring for aging and parents who also have illnesses, how that can fracture relationships and marriages. So when they say till death do us part, let's talk about this. Okay, till death do us part, to your death do us part, not your parents. And so how do you balance that in caring and concern for your spouses or your partner's parents if they get sick? Have you talked about, well, they can move into our house? Like, what's the option? Like, I'm an only child. Where the hell my mama gonna go? She ain't got no other kids. I don't have nobody to share her with, right? So heaven forbid if something were to happen to her, I don't think my husband would have a problem. But I'm just saying, you can't assume. These are conversations as we get older, we really need to be having so that everybody is on the same page. You don't want something happen and then you find out, oh, you ain't okay with that? Oh, you want me to put her in the home and rehabilitation? Nah, I can't do that. If she go in the home, I got to go in the home. But again, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, what does that really mean? Because everybody defines that very differently.
I like that Jay and I have all kinds of different conversations, and I'm the power of attorney for my dad, and I've talked about my dad having a stroke a few years ago and still is rehabilitating. And, he wants some level of independence, and I'm real picky about where he is to go. I like the independent living that provides some level of assistance, and but he's looking at both assisted living, because that military for that, versus independent living, which he will have some out-of-pocket expenses. And when I was talking to my dad about those conversations, Jay's immediate reaction was, oh, your dad's not going to no home, he can come live here. And I think to myself, who's going to take care of him? Because this shit is hard. I care. I have provided care for him, and he's come and stayed an entire month. And we have to be realistic about our lifestyle, our schedules, especially my schedule, if I'm going to be the main one taking care of him. Yes. And so while I love the fact that he's very open to my dad coming to live here, it's about having the real honest discussion that, okay, if he came here, what now? Because life look a lot different, because I don't want to be the only caregiver because that's my dad. And so we've not had to have that conversation, but it's something that should be discussed as you get older, because your parents get older and you don't know what can happen. And I.
Absolutely. We are currently, my husband and I are navigating this space, right? we've had my mom to come and stay with us for some time. Now she's staying with my other sister, but now my husband's mother is going through some things health wise, and it is on the table, with having her to come here. And I put it out there first, right? Because his mother, I love her to death, don't get me wrong, but what affects him affects me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always going to want to do what's in the best interest of him, his family. And yes, Pam, when you said, those are life altering things, you're absolutely right. But sometimes, guess what? We have to make those life sacrifices, right?
Mm-hmm.
For those that we love. And so, yeah, it's hard. And that was me. And I'm always, checking in with him because, our parents are getting older, and it's, I'm not even even gonna start crying about it because I get sad when I think about it, because we want, our parents to be here forever. But the reality of it, is that they're not. So, I'm going down a rabbit hole, but yeah, y'all got the gist of what
I do agree, but I think also here's another very honest conversation about what things could look like. We can make sacrifices, but we have to be very cautious about the financial sacrifice that could be impacted, especially when you rely on two incomes. So that's when shit gets real, like real. You have to be very honest with yourself about your capabilities, and there's nothing wrong with putting boundaries in place. It doesn't mean that you don't care about their family member. It doesn't mean that you don't love your family member, but there are things that holistically hit the household: emotional, physical, financial, and you don't want to be neglectful in any of those areas. And so in that aspect, like, how do you even begin to unravel all of the things that you don't normally see coming? Because some people just jump very head first and say, this is what we're going to do, instead of really thinking it over. Cortina, would you say that it would be better to have some level of checklist for conversations, and or is it better to jump head first and then make decisions as they come along, because you don't want to be like, let me jump head first, or let me be methodical, and then none of those things happen and I've stressed myself out for no reason, as opposed to, you know what, let me just do what I have to do right now, and whatever comes, we will have those discussions about.
It might be harder if you wait for the discussion. So, and you can either preface it and say, we might not agree right now, but I just at least want to know where your head is at, so I have a pulse, right? So if it ever happens, I already know we ride at dawn, or oh Lord, we might need some prayer oil because we ain't gonna agree. At least just have. It doesn't have to be like super in depth, but just in general, what if one of our parents got sick? What would be your thoughts on them coming to live with us? And sometimes everybody's all perfect. Great. Yes, that's no problem. We would love that. 3 months in, you like, what?
Hell no, gotta go.
Hell, I just did. Because you don't know, right?
Yeah.
It sounds good in theory, but it doesn't always mean it's for the best.
Correct.
And so I think that would have to just be trial and error. But on the surface, just asking, like, what does that look like? Do you want to be put in a home? Hell, do you want, like, if something, happened to you, what would that look like if we ever needed to do hospice care, and in your healthcare surrogates, like outlining all of those different wishes that you would want. Do you want to do hospice at home or in the hospital or in a hospice facility? It's not happy to talk about these things, but lives. Me and my husband, we just had a conversation, because we just redid our wills, power of attorneys, healthcare surrogates, all of those different things, right?
Estate planning.
Yeah, we did all of that. So deeds, adding each other's names to different properties and stuff like that. So I asked him if something happened, would he want to be resuscitated? Because my mom is DNR. I said she might be, but I don't know. Because
Uh-oh. I don't hear y'all no more.
I'm muted, but I think okay, you're back,
There
Cortina.
you go. There you go.
now
You just stopped.
what was happening? So I don't know if I would have the power to be able to make that decision not to bring her back, right? I told D, I said, I don't give a damn what y'all got to do. Bring me back. Try it. Work on me, honey. Let me come back. And so I said, but not if I'm not going to have a quality of life. If I'm going to be a vegetable and I'm brain dead and y'all have to do everything for me, no, yeah. I don't want to live like that, because that's a lot of stress.
Yes.
On someone. And you can love this person to death, but what if you need to go out of town? You got to find somebody to take care of them. And I can't do anything. I can't talk. I can't move. I can't do nothing. That's not a quality of life for me. And so although it's not a cheerful, let's toast, yeah, we made this like conversation, especially for the things that I have experienced, is very necessary. Very necessary conversations. And I don't care how old you are. There are 20-year-olds dying. There's kids died at any point. And I had to have a conversation with Morgan, right? Because if my husband, if something happens to him, she is the person who is next to make decisions for me. We had to have that conversation about this is life, and planning saves you a headache. You don't have to argue. You don't have to fight. I don't care if you get a trust. I don't care if you get a will. I don't care if you, however you feel like you want to be able to protect yourself, that's what you need to be able to do. So if something were to happen to you, your family is not depressed and angry and fighting and doing all the things and asking for GoFundMes. I'm not shading nobody, but make sure that your stuff is in order. Uh-oh, you're muted.
So I think I definitely agree. And here's one of the things that I have had to educate even some family members on. It's if you have a parent that is getting older, now would be the time while they are in good sense and have their mind with them to get a medical power of attorney. A medical power of attorney will give you access to anything that's medical that's going on with them that you don't have to jump through hoops and fight for. I myself, when my dad had a stroke, it was very difficult to get some information. I'm very grateful for where he is at now, but I've had to advocate heavily for him for almost everything, especially when it first happened. And so that was one of the things that I immediately put in place, that I became his medical power of attorney. And granted, wills are nice, but wills are after the fact. So you want to be able to, soon as you show up to that hospital, you can get information on your spouse, your parent, your child. Well, if it's your child, meaning if they're over 18, they're not obligated to tell you a damn thing because of HIPAA.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's why we did this, because Morgan went to college. She turned 18.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is extremely important that you get a medical power of attorney. And the other part is, let's say you're out of town and something happens to your spouse. You can call that other hospital and say, hey, I have a medical power of attorney at this, and they will send it, and you can get information what is going on. So I encourage people to, if nothing else, have that in your medical files. Have it in your medical files, because you have no idea what you would have to go through just to get answers. And sometimes saying I'm the daughter, or I'm the son, or I'm the grandchild, it doesn't even matter.
Because what if you got 3 daughters and all y'all want to say something different? Okay, so that's why you need to appoint a point person who is, because all y'all have the same equal rights, which was none really, because they can't. But somebody needs to be the point person.
Yeah.
And I say it's like a double-edged sword. I ain't gotta talk to nobody. But on the flip side, I ain't got nobody to lean on. Like during that time, like I don't have no sibling to be like, oh my God, we lost our mom, or we lost our daddy, or whatever that is. So That's what I always say. Like, damn, I had to carry that by myself.
Oh,
See,
you
But
got us. You got us. We'll be
yes,
there.
you already know. You will be carried, ma'am. We're gonna make sure you are good.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
much so. But yeah, but I think that I'm hoping that all of you are listening and that you have spouses or you have parents that you will, one of the first things you make a move on doing is getting that medical power of attorney. The other part is if they're much older, add to that and get a general power of attorney. That means you can take care of everything regarding their estate. That's the other thing that is very important. And estate planning is crucial anyway. And I know, like, even with children, no one likes to get life insurance for their kids because they feel like, oh, it's too morbid. That's like saying something's going to happen to them. But if you are going to take care of yourself, you need to take care of your family. So everyone should have a policy. And sometimes, people don't want to have a will, but just make sure that you have something in place that people know where everything is. As a matter of fact, let me ask you, ladies, because now we're talking about IT technology. What do you call it? Data after you're gone. Or do you give the person you're with access to even that? To take care of your digital your digital property, because after you're gone, somebody has to either shut stuff down, do whatever. What do you want with your your technology profiles? That's something that we have to consider now.
So yeah, as far as technology, as far as like the ones I don't hardly use, social media accounts, Morgan will take care of that because Dee don't do nothing with that. Like, doing all that. I would tell her, keep my Facebook open, chat, so people get and do a remembrance, because you know how you can do the remembrance page or whatever. Because all the pictures are on there. So download whatever pictures you want and everything like that. So, I don't even know if you want me to say this, so I'm going to say it low. So if anything were to happen to my husband, if he has the system that he set up, if he doesn't log in a certain amount of days, it automatically will send me and his brother instructions on everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, because I told him, I said, I don't know who we pay our mortgage to. I don't know. It's not that and I think I shared this before. It's not that I don't have access to it. This is my first time, whether I've been married or in a relationship or anything, where I don't have to worry about it, see it, do nothing. I don't know who we pay our light bill to. I don't know who our homeowner association is. I don't know anything. I don't even know who. I do know the car because it's Genesis Financial, but anything else, I don't know it. It's not that it's not available. It's there. I just don't have to worry about looking at it, which is, I've never experienced that. So it's great not having a man that takes care of, you can have a man that may pay all the bills or whatever, but you still write the checks. It's online. You see it or whatever. And I think that's where also trust comes in. Do you trust this person not to be paying the mortgage?
Come on.
You don't get no red, orange, whatever color it is, door notification on your door. So that's great. But I'm glad that he does have other things in place. So I know exactly where to go, what I need to do if something happens. And so for him, I'm like, okay, I need to write down all of my stuff. So if something happens, all of my different accounts and everything. And so with Morgan going to college now, so I had her as a rider on my life insurance policy, but she's 18 now. So she's getting her own life insurance policy. So that's one thing. And then teaching her the financial side of it, because now that she's 18, if something were to happen to us, guess what? Everything goes to her. She's young. If heaven forbid something were to happen, she would be devastated. But now you just came into all this stuff. So I think it's having those conversations about responsibility, being mindful. How do you continue to take care of yourself? still continuing to invest. And I think that's also where talking about stocks and investments and 401ks and making sure that all of those things are discussed. Because it's not just when you're in a relationship and everything's good and high and, oh my God, this is great. But in the lowest of lows, like, how do we show up for each other? How do we communicate? How do we share the information? How do we share it with the people who need it to be, shared with, like your nieces or nephews or daughters or, siblings or parents, sharing the information that they need to know, because it's good if you know it, but if they don't know where to go find the will, if they don't know where to find the life insurance policy, what's the point?
Yeah, they're just going to be looking. And so let me ask you this. What would you consider a good age to start having conversations about inheritance for children? So in terms of responsibility, I'm like, at what age do you start initiating those conversations? Because like you say, sickness and health for between spouses or parents or significant others, it still impacts the kids. So at what age do you start having those conversations about generational wealth or inheritance, or, hey, this is where, if something happens to me, here is what you need to do?
I think as young as they can understand it. Like Dee had started talking to the kids about saving, right? So getting them into the mindset. He already has investment accounts for all of them. They don't even know they don't know nothing about that. But slowly teaching them about being financially responsible and what does this look like and how that can help you in the long run. When Morgan was 15, I added her to my credit card. Okay, now she has a 760 credit score. I said, keep it, don't mess it up. Like, guard that with your life. Don't sign anything. If you got the money right now, but you might not have it in 3 weeks, don't do it. Just don't touch it. And so I think teaching them financial lessons, and one thing I don't think parents should do is use, like, you're in my will, or I have a trust for you, as, over their head. Like, I'm going to take you out my will. I'm going to do this if they don't do what you want for them to do. Like, no, you either want them in it or you don't. Now, if they really do something like super egregious and you see they're not going to be financially sound at that time, you don't do it as a power struggle. But you know what? When I'm gone, you'll find out based on you write a little letter based on the decisions you made when I was alive. I'm sorry, but I'm going to give you $500 and that's your inheritance from me. But if they're good,
rather than trust at a certain age, you can say, you'll get this at 18, 21, 25, 30.
So that's what we did with the kids when we mapped out our will, right? Because the kids are much younger than Morgan. So Morgan will then, if something were to, let's say, heaven forbid, something happened to us at the same time, Morgan would be over everything. And then we have it where the kids will get their stuff at, I said 21. My husband said 18. I said, no, 21. 18, you still a little, if I could make it 25, I'll make it 25, but 21. And so we had to have a conversation with Morgan. Like, hey, if something happens to us, I need for you financially. Like, it's not money to be blown or spent crazy or whatever. You have to, now they're going to be coming to you for stuff, right? And you're going to have to, she was like, you think I'm not going to take care of my babies? I don't have no money now, and I take care of them with my little bit that I do get. But I said, this will be very different. And so I think when you do have an oldest, not putting the responsibility on them, but technically she's an adult, right? Who else are we going to have it to? And so having those open conversations, talking about life insurance very young, she's always known about it. And maybe I'm a little bit more forthcoming because I have had such significant health problems where we didn't have a choice. Talking about what I want for my funeral arrangements. Yeah, it seems kind of morbid, but these are my wishes. This is what I would want. And so I think as young as they could start understanding money, that's what you need to do. Show them about, okay, this is what this means. I know they have a lot of kids clubs that do financial literacy. As early as they are able to understand, get them involved in financial literacy. Now, mind you, these kids, they know how many dollars they done gave their daddy. $5. Daddy, I have this much money now. Now, they don't know how much they have in the bank, but the money that we have here for them. You still have my money? Okay, I should have this much. Okay, I have enough to buy this. Okay, and it's like, okay, no, we're saving. One of the things I used to do with Morgan when she used to get an allowance is I used to hold a certain percentage of her allowance, right? So yeah, you get $5 a week, but you only actually get $250 because we save half of it. And so
a hell of tax. That's a
so we are teaching saving and investing, right? Saving and investing. And so then that goes into, as they get older, generational wealth. If something happens to you, guess what? All those $2.50 you done saved up from that $5 allowance that you got, if something happened to you, guess what? You have so much more money that was kind of out of sight, out of mind to go buy you this rainbow high doll toy that you want. Why? Because you have it stored away. And you have to be like, oh, I gotta do this, oh, I gotta do this. No, your $250 is for you to spend, but we also put in $250 aside.
So you know what? Go ahead, Diana.
Well, I was just gonna say that I'm currently doing that with my nieces, right? One is real good, I promise you. The younger one, she know how to stack her money. She really do. She's great at saving. The older one, not so much, but I'm working on that with them because I want them to have a keen understanding of money and how wealth really works. Because, well, in my mind, I really want both of them, upon me to for me to be able to hand over empowered women, empower to them, for them to run it like that. That's really what I want for my legacy, because I don't have children, so they are my babies. But to piggyback off of what you were saying about, how young should you start, educating your children and things like that on, life insurance and all these different things. My mom started that with me when I was in my teens. And I didn't understand it fully then, but she's always had those hard conversations with me, and they were uncomfortable, right? Like, I know that what I'm over, she's like, Diana, this is this, you're over this, you're going to be responsible for this, and the paperwork is here, and this is what you need to do. And when that time comes, this is how I want to be, this is how I want to be buried. And they are hard conversations, to have, but it is necessary.
Yes, very.
It's very necessary.
Very.
Yeah. So I was going to say, with regards to allowance, and I'm a bit stickler here, and I love part of how I grew up. I think that you can still teach financial responsibility while also allowing a child to make their own decisions about their own finances. And the reason why I say that is I wasn't allowed to have a job when I was, in high school, when I was growing up. My mom was like, me and your dad make enough. Just going to school was essentially my job. And we was rewarded on doing different things. And I was her high maintenance child. My his nickname for me was Hollywood. I've always liked nice things, but I still turned out very financially responsible. I had a choice, so I can either save my money or I can spend it. Now, fast forward, I do look at where we are now, and I think about how hard life can be, period. Like how stressful, because I know the education that these kids are getting now was not the education I was getting then. And so kids are more stressed out at home and more stressed out at work and all of this. And sometimes they're looking forward to their allowance as their way to decompress and buy them whatever they want. So giving, $10 and saying, I'm going to take out $5, in their mind already, they're trying to process, well, I wanted to save. I was saving money, but at the same time, I really need this for my own mental wellness or mental health. And so how do you even go about teaching financial literacy, but also allowing them to create their own financial comfort, kind of speak, of their own, what do you call it? Not necessarily, or like letting them develop their own accountability and responsibility as it pertains to their money. Now, you can talk to them and educate them, but forcing it, I feel like it can be another stressor on them, given the climate that they are in with social media, given in that they are bullied about different things. And it's just a very different life.
I think it also goes to what the kids value. And this is where I am. So me and Dee, Dee and Morgan have an account together. We have a savings account together and a checking account. She has 2 accounts at Bank of America and 1 at Wells Fargo. The one at Bank of America, that's the one that me and Dee are on, she doesn't touch it at all, right? It just stacks and saves, and money from her 429 and all of those things are there. So she has money, but guess what? She said, no, Mom, the only money I'm gonna spend is whatever is in my Wells Fargo. Now, and this is where parents, you have to figure out where you are too. She's in college. She asked me does she have money? Yes, she does. But when she asks me for money, guess what? It comes from me, because I feel like while she's in college, she's still my responsibility. Yeah. So where's she spending her money at? So she has free will to do what she wants to do. But guess what? I would much rather her save that. So when she graduates or whatever, she can do whatever she wants to do. She doesn't have to worry about, oh my God, my savings and checking account at Bank of America dwindling. Oh my gosh, I don't have any money. The other thing is, it takes her $30 every Sunday to go to church for Uber, because she doesn't have a car. So we spend a lot of money in Uber. So guess what? Again, this is where you train your children from young. When they're home, it might not look like they know what the hell they're doing, but when they fly out, it shows. My daughter took it upon herself to contact the church that she attends to say, hey, us college students at UNF, we would love a place to worship, but it gets very costly. And I've noticed, I'm paraphrasing, I've noticed how a lot of people that I see, we all Uber here. So is it a possibility that you all can set up something for you all to pick us up for the 11 o'clock service to bring us? It's a huge church. The pastor has 1 million followers, so they have the capacity to do it. They responded back to her. They're setting up a meeting. They want her because they are interested in getting more exposure on the campuses around town. They asked Morgan to be a part because it's going to make me emotional. Just to be able to see like her mind and how it's working. And because this is a lot of money that I'm spending. Like, I don't have to just spend this money on Uber and problem solving and finding solutions, when it's not like, well, okay, Mom, Dad, think about everything for me. Like, what I'm gonna do when you're able to find problems. And you all can go on social media with the conversation that I posted about what she texted me today. And see, because I posted it on my story. But
you see that.
I didn't see it either.
You got to see it. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Just knowing as a parent, you instill in them what you think is important for them. They will grow up, they will go on their way, but sometimes they actually are listening, even when you don't think that they are. And so being able to see her making financially smart decisions. She said to me, Mom, that costs too much. We were just looking at her meal plan and she has extra dining dollars, but she done spent $70 in a week from dining dollars. She was like, you know what? I only went to the caf too. I need to spend more time in the cafe. I didn't tell her what to do. She's making her own financial decisions because she knows what she wants. She says, Mom, I got to do real good in school because I want me a high-rise condo. I was like, okay, girl, well, you know what you need to do. I'm not funding that for you. You have to be able to fund that for yourself. And so knowing the way of life, knowing the life that she has here, she doesn't want to have to go backwards. She wants to be able to continue to live her same lifestyle. And so I give her the flexibility to do what she wants to do, but she has bypassed anything that I ever thought.
That's because you reared her up in that way.
Learn by
example. So parents have to understand that. I mean, it's biblical. Don't make me. Okay, yeah. Don't make me. Don't make me. You have to rear your children, right? Yeah. And even when you think they're not listening, it sinks in. Yeah, it really does. So when your children are young, what you're seeing now with Morgan are things that you've instilled in her.
Mm-hmm. Let me say this. I used to be on Morgan. Oh my God. All the time about work, time management, procrastinating, everything. Mm-hmm. She didn't got to college. She a whole new person. I said, well, what the hell was this? What?
Lying dormant.
No, you don't have to say anything. The girl is always doing work, always doing something productive, very on it, checks her emails, checks her calendar. I said, Is this the same child? Because I was on you all the time. Morgan, okay, get up. All right. Don't just lollygag around. Then when she came home for summer break, she was just like lounge. I said, what you doing? You wasting time. What happened to the person that was in college? Now she back in college. Now she back on it. Back her roommates and her friends are like, Morgan ain't going nowhere if her work ain't done. The students in the class asked Morgan for her notes. Morgan said, oh, shoot, I used to be the one asking for notes in high school. Now they're asking for my notes. So just to see it, when you don't think it, she used to have me pulling my hair out. She used to be stressing me out all the way to the end. But they do listen. You just have to be supportive, reinforce it, let them know, hey, your decisions play a part in what your future looks like. It can be a small decision. You can be around the wrong crowd, whatever that is, it plays a part. And I'm only saying this because I want for you to be financially smart, but the parents have to be financially smart. Morgan's going to be light years ahead of me when I was, because I didn't get this type of education, but she has been grateful to have people in her life that's able to, give her insight, give her information on investing young, saving money, the importance of your credit score. And so I think that we do a disservice to our children when we don't talk about these things, even if it is estate planning. Morgan knew about life insurance since whenever. She's always had one, right? And so now she's about to get her own. She will be the owner of the policy. I would, of course, be the beneficiary. And so these are just things that are important for people to have awareness on, knowing how not to just be impulsive. And I'm talking to myself right now because I love me a good, something. But if I save my money now, if I'm spending, when I really want that big thing, I'm not going to have it because I spent it on all these little small things. In the case of emergency, having 6 months worth of whatever your income is saved up for a rainy day. Look at all of the Black women that's being laid off, right? They said like 300,000 Black women are unemployed right now because of since the changes that have happened. All right, you don't know how long you might be without a job. You might get sick, right? Saving up 6 months worth just so that be on the safe side, so you're not adding more additional stress if you're already sick. If you are looking for a job, it's a little bit more stressful if I'm like, oh Lord, I'm gonna get kicked out because I ain't got money. But if I got a little bit of a cushion, I can still, it might still be a little bit more stressful, but not as much if I'm thinking my stuff gonna be on the curb.
Absolutely.
Well, we have reached the top of the hour, ladies. Woo, I tell you what, this has been a good conversation, a little bit on the heavy side, but something that's definitely needed to be discussed. I think that, I think that certain conversations are needed to be had. And I think that as you enter into relationships, period, that there are conversations to be had, because for those people who say they never want to get married, you still need to find someone that you trust, that you can have to speak on your behalf of the things that you want versus the state stepping in and speaking on behalf of what you want. That's something that you don't want to happen. So whether you are married or single, have a trusted counterpart to be able to have medical power of attorney that, would know where your will is at, that would know, what your social media passwords are. So I'm hoping that you run this conversation back and have these very critical conversations in your relationships, not just with your spouse, but with your parents, with your siblings, with your nieces, with your nephews, whoever you are closest to. And so, of course, this is your unapologetic diva, Dr. G. You can, find me on all social media platforms at IAMDRPGURLEY. I am Dr. P. Gurley. Diana, where can everyone find you at?
You can find me at Diana Richardson Philippus on all social media platforms.
And Dr. Lewis.
You can find me at The Girlfriend Therapist on all social media platforms. And you can also find me, where can you find me? At the New Art Center. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, you will find us here the same time, same place next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are running this back, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. If there is a specific topic that you would like us to discuss, send us an email or hit us in the DM. We are at Herspiration Happy Hour pretty much everywhere. Also, Herspiration Happy Hour at gmail.com. Just simply as that. Just because we would always love to hear your feedback. And, you know, we talk about some of everything. This is the blessing of just having happy hour with your girls. So, yes, definitely hit us back next week. We'll be back. And as we always end our podcast with cheers.
This is Herspiration Happy Hour.